Hi and welcome back to Pick Up the Pieces. I'm Stacy and we're in the Pickup Kitchen. I am making another quick, delicious meal that my family really enjoys and I wanted to share it with you. So the other day we took a huge pork loin that we got from Restaurant Depot and we cut it into 6 different meals. So this is one of our bags of pork loin and I am going to show you how to make a really delicious pork chop recipe. This is something that my mom used to make when I was younger. And I've modified it a little bit to make it a little easier. Her recipe involved like sauteing onions and searing the pork chops and doing all sorts of other steps before you got it in the oven, but I simplified it and we actually like this better. So I forgot to spray my pan, but that's cool. I'm just gonna move this pork chop out of the way. And so I believe in this package we have 5 pork chops. We bought an entire pork loin at Restaurant Depot. It's about $1.79 a pound for their pork loin. And we'll bring it home. There's no bones in it. And we will cut it up. And it will make at least 6 meals for us. And that pork loin at $1.79 a pound, it was about 11.5 pounds of pork. And it only cost $20. So it's a great way to get food on your table inexpensively, and you stock up. Now there's 5 more bags of pork in the freezer, so the next time we're gonna have pork, we just have to pull it out and put it in the fridge to defrost and we're good to go. So I'm gonna season up these pork chops. And all I do is use garlic powder and salt and pepper. And I'm gonna garlic powder, salt and pepper both sides of the pork. You could add other seasonings if you want to, but this is what we always do, and it comes out really delicious. So these are called sour cream and onion pork chops. And if you like sour cream and onion potato chips, you're absolutely gonna love this. And the pork comes out really, really, really tender when you cook it this way. So, gotta do the other side. Pepper. Garlic powder, and our salt. Okay, the next thing you're gonna do is a layer of sour cream on each pork chop. You want your sour cream to be 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch thick. The thicker the better. And I have this huge tub of sour cream that I bought at BJ's, and this is a great way to use it up because I don't wanna buy like a huge container of something thinking I'm saving a bunch of money and then come to find out I wasted it. It went bad in the fridge. So this is a great use of this sour cream, and then the rest of what's left here is going to go in our mashed potatoes. We're going to have mashed potatoes with this and some asparagus. You could certainly have any side dish that you like with this dinner. But the pork ends up cooking down and it kind of develops, I don't want to say like a gravy, but it's very like you get the meat juices mixing like with the sour cream, and so it's kind of saucy, I guess, for lack of a better word, and it goes really great with mashed potatoes. So all I'm doing is just spreading this sour cream out. You want it in like an even layer on each pork chop. Kind of like frosting on a cake, I guess, is the best way to describe it. But you want a nice even layer. I got a little extra on this one, so I'm just gonna share. I don't wanna dip my spoon back into the sour cream once it's got pork juices on it. So there we go. So get all of that off of there and spread around. And then we're just gonna take these crispy French fried onions. So bought these in a huge bag, again at probably BJ's, and so you spend less money per pound when you buy something in bulk, and we use these all the time for this recipe. They certainly can be used for other recipes. They're not going to go to waste, so why not buy a big huge bag of them rather than a smaller one, and you save money and time in the long run. So all I'm going to do is put a nice size handful, probably about a 1/2 cup of the French fried onions on top of each pork chop. If you want extra, you can put extra on this. If you wanted to, you could use potato chips instead of the French fried onions. That is good, it's tasty, but personally, we love the French fried onions more. And if you buy your French fried onions in a can, then you're just going to use one large can. That'll make anywhere from 5 to 7 pork chops, or maybe even 8 pork chops. These are like thicker because I cut them myself. If you buy the thin pork chops, like the boneless, really thin ones, then you could do maybe 8 of those because they're smaller and they're thinner. So it's really up to you. It's very easy to double this recipe. And really, however many pork chops are in your package, just use your ingredients and put them on your pork chops. So here we go. We've got everything we need. And then I'm just going to cover this with foil. This is going to go in a 350-degree oven, and we're going to cook this for about 35 to 40 minutes. The thicker your pork chops, the longer you want to cook it. Because these are thick, they're about a 1/2 inch thick, they might have to cook for 45 minutes, but I will show you how to know when they're done. And so we'll be back in a bit. So we're going to make mashed potatoes to go with our dinner tonight. We've got pork chops cooking in the oven, and mashed potatoes are a great side dish that our family loves. For me, I would rather make a huge batch of mashed potatoes, have some for tonight, and then have some for leftovers. We also will take our leftover mashed potatoes and freeze them. And then when we're having dinner in the future, where we need a side dish to go with something that we're cooking, and we don't really feel like making mashed potatoes or pasta or rice, we can just pull out a container of mashed potatoes from the freezer, reheat them, and they are good as new, and we enjoy them with the meal, and it saves us a ton of time. So I have probably about a 1/2 bag of potatoes here, so maybe about 2 pounds, maybe 3 pounds, and I'm just gonna peel these. My garbage can is right here. So I'm gonna peel these potatoes, I'm gonna cube them up, and then we're gonna boil them just like you normally would with potatoes. And then I'm gonna show you how I like to mash my potatoes. I do not like to use a hand mixer. I do not like to mash by hand. I have a potato ricer, so I'm going to show you how to use that. It's a really fun kitchen gadget, but what I find is it makes the most creamy and delicious mashed potatoes with no lumps, and it's very easy to do. And so I will show you that in a little bit. So I got 1 potato peeled, and then I am just going to slice this. And I'm going to get these into my cold water. Always start your potatoes in cold water. You never want to start them in warm or hot water. And you don't want to add cold potatoes to boiling water because it won't cook properly. The outside of the potato will end up not cooking properly. You'll end up with like hard spots in your potatoes, and they'll end up lumpy when you try to mash them. So pro tip, always start with cold potatoes and cold water. So I'm going to peel the rest of these and chop them, and I'll be right back. So I've peeled all the potatoes, cut them up into equal sized pieces. You want all your potatoes to be in equal sized pieces so they cook evenly. And then you're gonna bring this over to the stove, turn it on a medium-high heat. I like to cover it so that it comes to a boil maybe a little faster. And you're gonna cook them till they're fork tender. So I'll show you what that looks like, but it usually takes about maybe 15 minutes. Now, this water with all my potatoes sitting in it got a little bit starchy. It's a little cloudy. So I'm going to give these potatoes a rinse. If you've ever had mashed potatoes and they're like gummy or sticky in texture, it's because there's too much starch in the water. So if you rinse the potatoes once, because the water looks a little bit cloudy, you'll avoid that. If you put your potatoes in the cold water and they don't look cloudy, you absolutely don't need to rinse them. But I'm going to give these a quick rinse. So I just dumped out the cloudy water, added a little bit of fresh, dumped that out, and now I'm just gonna fill this up until the water is about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch over the top of the potatoes, and then we're gonna bring this to a boil. All right, so follow me over here to the stove. So we're gonna turn these on. Pretty high flame, get them going. Cover them up, and then I will be back to show you how to know when your potatoes are ready for mashing. Okay, so we're back. These potatoes took quite a bit of time to come to a boil, and so understanding that as they are coming to a boil, they are cooking. Once you actually get them to a boil, you really only have to boil them for like 8 to 10 minutes, because as they are coming to a boil, they are cooking. So if you just take like a little sharp knife and stick them in your potatoes, you'll find that if they fall off the knife relatively easily, then they are cooked. And so we are going to take these over to the strainer. We're going to strain out the water carefully, and then I'm going to show you how to mash them up. All right, so we're just going to dump these into a colander. And I am just going to take this pot and use that to mash my potatoes. So I need my little spatula. There's a couple potatoes in the bottom here that don't want to leave the pot. That is fine. I'm gonna get those out. So you just dumped boiling water and potatoes out of your pot into a colander, so your pot is nice and warm. You're gonna use that to your advantage. I don't mash these on the stove. I mash them on the counter over by my sink because I use the ricer. And when I do it this way, because the pot is nice and hot and the potatoes just came out of it, that butter is just gonna start melting all on its own. And then when I rice the potatoes onto the butter, it's just gonna continue to melt. I'm gonna dump in some of the sour cream. I'll start off with about that much, so it's probably about a cup. And don't forget, we're doing a huge batch of mashed potatoes, so a cup of sour cream in 4 pounds or 3 pounds or whatever of potatoes is not a ton. I'm going to add a little bit of milk, just kind of a big splash there. We use 2%. And then I'm going to show you how to use one of my favorite tools. So this is a potato ricer, and all you're going to do is just take your potatoes and get them in your ricer. And then you're just gonna squeeze, and your potatoes are gonna get pushed right through. Now you don't have to worry about the stuff that comes off the top when you open it and go to refill it, because it will be mushed enough to where it's not going to be lumpy. It's not gonna give you a problem. But all you're gonna do is just keep loading this and squeezing it, and you're gonna push those potatoes through that metal plate, and it's gonna make these the creamiest potatoes you've ever had. And you don't end up with gummy or sticky potatoes, because there's no chance that you're gonna end up over mixing these or over mashing these. So if you have a little bit of cream cheese in your refrigerator and you wanna add some of that to these potatoes, that's delicious too. Just trust me on that. A little bit of cream cheese, maybe half a brick in this whole batch of potatoes, will make the creamiest and tangiest potatoes you've ever had. You're not going to really taste the cream cheese, but they're just going to add sort of a richness and a creaminess to it that's really, really good. So I'm just going to keep ricing these potatoes, and I'll show you what they look like when we're done. All right, so our pork is out of the oven. I baked this at 375 tonight. Sometimes I'll do these pork chops at 350, but I was kind of in a hurry and I wanted them done a little faster. 350 is fine, 375 is fine. You decide. If you've got time to let them cook a little lower and slower, do the 350. If you want them out of the oven faster, go 375. So these just came out of the oven. They took 55 minutes at 375. These are thicker pork chops, and this is how you know that they're done. The French fried onions get kind of brown. They're still a little bit crispy even though they were covered. And then you'll see that the sour cream breaks up a little bit in with the juices from the pork chops. Trust me, that's perfectly okay. It's not like curdled. It's not, bad. It's really good, and it makes a really, really nice sauce to go with the pork chops. So these are done, and we're almost done mashing our potatoes. So we'll be right back with a finished plate. Okay, so dinner is ready. Pork chops are all set. I took some asparagus and I cooked it in the air fryer. All I did was snap off the woody ends and throw them away. And I put the asparagus on the air fryer tray. I sprayed it with a little bit of cooking spray and I seasoned it with like a Kinder buttery steakhouse seasoning. We love that. And then I just cooked it in the air fryer at 375 for about 5 or 6 minutes. So we have some asparagus ready to go. These are the finished mashed potatoes. All I ended up doing was ricing all of the potatoes into the pot. I did add another half a stick of butter, so a total of 1.5 sticks of butter. Don't forget, this is probably closer to 4 pounds of potatoes. And I put in probably about 2 cups of milk, and I put in all the sour cream that I had left over, so that got used up. Now, there is no way we're gonna eat this whole pot of potatoes tonight with dinner, but I have a whole bunch of these containers. They're quart-sized containers. They're freezer safe. I bought them on Amazon. I'll link them in the description for you, but whatever potatoes are left over will be portioned into these containers. One of these quart-sized containers is enough for my family of 4 for one meal. So we'll freeze several of them. However many potatoes are left, that's what we'll do. And then future meals will have potatoes. So I want to show you what these pork chops look like when you cut into them. They are so good. I'm just going to grab one here with my fork and knife. And these little extra bits of onion are delicious, so you want to scoop them out of the pan. Also, you want to grab some of that sauce that's in the pan. I don't know what exactly you would call it, but it's kind of like almost brothy, but then it's kind of got like the little bit of sour cream bits into it, and just kind of pour that over the top of your pork chop. And I'm going to cut into that first before I serve myself some mashed potato so I can show you what it looks like on the inside. So I gave myself a little bit of mashed potato, and I'm going to take a bite and let you know, like, this is one of our favorite meals. A lot of times I'll take a little bit of the mashed potato, take a little bit of the pork chop. I'm telling you, these pork chops are so good because you get really juicy, tender pork chops, with a little bit of onion flavor mixed with the creaminess of that cooked down sour cream. They are really creamy and good. They really almost in a way taste like a sour cream and onion potato chip. This is definitely a family favorite. I hope you're willing to try it soon. And if you do, please comment, let me know what you thought. Thanks so much for joining us in the Pickup Kitchen. I'm so glad you're here. We're gonna eat, and I hope you have a great evening. Thanks, bye. So these are our leftover mashed potatoes. We ended up with 4 quarts of mashed potatoes left over. After we had dinner, we've got 4 full happy bellies, and we've got 1.5 pork chops left over, a little bit of asparagus left over, and then all these potatoes. So these potatoes will go in my freezer, and then we've got 4 dinners worth of mashed potatoes ready to go when we need them.